Welcome back. Welcome back to Political Talk with Charlotte. I'm so glad you joined me. I want to invite your friends to join me because we're going to talk about some things that are impacting our direct community. Normally, I talk about issues that occur on the federal level. Those things are important, but this week I thought it was imperative to bring to you some news pertaining to what's happening locally. Yes, we're going to talk about Linda Phillips, who is the administrator of the Shelby County Election Commission. We're going to talk about what Judge Joe Brown has to say about what's happening in that place. I just lost one of my lights. Well, that's not fair. Okay, but we're going to move on without it. We're going to talk about leadership and how it sets the tone for a community. So I want you to go out and invite your friends to join us today, especially those who live in Shelby County, who lives in Memphis, and who are not happy with the leadership that we have, the leadership that is supposed to set the tone of the community. I hope you will enjoy this show because I've enjoyed gathering some information and facts for you. We will be right back. And we are back much faster than I thought we would be, but we are back. Listen, I want to start with the fact that I got involved in this election process back in 2009. Prior to that, I was a homemaker, raising my children, hoping for the best for my children, that they would live in a community whereby they would be safe, that they would receive the education that they needed in order to become the best citizens in this community. All I can say is I am so glad, first of all, that I started school when I did. And I'm so glad that my children are not coming out of schools in this environment. And I want to bring to your attention what's happening in your community. And as you did so well on November the 5th, 2024, this is not the time to sit back on your laurels and expect for things to go well between now and the next election. Yes, invite your friends to join me because I look forward to sharing with you guys what is going on. I'll start with some news from Channel 5. Channel 5 speaks about the fact that the United States Department of Justice, and this report came out in 2024. And who was in charge of the Department of Justice at that time? You are right. It was the Biden administration. They announced that violent crime is down in 70 major cities across the country, including Memphis. I beg to differ in terms of their assessment. There may be some areas where crime is down. They may be focusing on property. I would hate to have my home or something on my property stolen or somebody breaking into my home. That is a crime. But the crime that I'm mostly focusing on right now, that is happening in Memphis, Tennessee, is major violent crime. I'll get to Judge Joe Brown a little bit later, but one of the things he stated was Memphis, Tennessee was in the top 5 cities in the world that are crime laden. Yes, little old Memphis, Tennessee is one of the most violent. I think it comes in, actually, I think it's Number 10. It's number 10. And I hope I'm right in that. But it should not even be on the list. More importantly, in the United States of America, Memphis, Tennessee rates number 1 in the most violent crime in the city. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but I'm about to tell you this. I'm going to show you this graph, and I want you to look very, very carefully at what I'm about to show you, because I think it's really, really important that you see. Remember what I said. Leadership sets the tone of a community. Leadership. You don't believe me? Look at what happened when Bill Clinton was in office and what happened shortly after that. I mean, Bill Clinton, he was pushing for the don't ask, don't tell type of environment in the military. Okay? And you all understand that. He was not bold enough to do what Barack Obama later did. But here's some stats I want you to see from Memphis. I want you to see these stats. These are most violent city. If you can see this with me, I started in the political arena around 2009. In 2010, Republicans were elected at the state level, at the mayoral level, at the, many Republicans ran county offices. That was in 2010. And if you look at this chart with me, you will see that prior to 2010, say starting in 2006, crime was pretty high. But then it went down. It went down around the 2010, 2011 timeframe. And it's pretty much stayed down until approximately 2016, 2019. Here's another graph that I want you to see. Yes, this graph is visible. It shows you, okay, in 2006, crime was pretty high. Then in 2011, when Republicans took over, see how drastically crime went down? And then it started going back up in 2016. So I'm going to talk to you about that. What happened in 2016? Well, remember, leadership sets the tone of a community. Okay. In 2016, who became the administrator, the election administrator? Okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to keep you guessing. Richard Houghton, who was a Republican, was the election commission administrator up until 2015. And things were going well. But guess who came on the scene in 2016 when crime started going up? Yes, you guessed it, Linda Phillips. And ever since Linda Phillips has been here, you've had nothing but Democrats been elected. Richard Houghton was the election commission administrator back when Republicans were elected, when crime was down. Now, you've got currently your city mayor is a Democrat. Currently, your county mayor is a Democrat. City council is majority Democrats. County commission, majority Democrats. County sheriff, guess what? I bet you'd never guess. I'm going to tell you anyway. He's a Democrat. And the current police chief, she is a Democrat. So you've got Democrats that are leading this city. All the while you've got Democrats leading the city, you've got crime going up. You've got murders, you've got carjacking, you got break-ins, you got all of these things going up, and is this a direct cause and effect? I'm going to let you decide that. I'm going to let you decide that. But I'm going to say this. Democrats in 2016, when Linda Phillips took over, began winning all the seats in Shelby County. There was an article in the Memphis Flyer about Linda Phillips. She came here from Indiana. Jackson Baker wrote this article, and I'm going to read to you excerpts from the article. It says the first revelation regarding Phillips had to do with the fact that a contract for new voter registration software approved by her office in 2017, a year after she began her work in Shelby County, was awarded to Everyone Counts. That was the firm she had worked for in Indiana before taking the Shelby County job. Linda Phillips came with some baggage, and she brought with her clout in working with this company called Everyone Counts, and they brought in the new voter registration software. There is no evidence that she disclosed that relationship to the Election Commission. She actually, according to what I understood, she actually began to feel the heat, and she spoke with the election attorney at the time to ask, was there a conflict of interest? Why would you do that? Why would you figure you could walk in here and come from a company and award Everyone Counts, the company that you used to work for in Indiana? In addition to that, okay, Norma Lester said she is adamant that Phillips did not just disclose either the fact that she worked for that organization, or the further one that Phillips had a son who was working for Everyone Counts. Everyone Counts. They count the people that come in they count the people that come in to vote. They also manage the voter rolls. They deal with the voter data. Ever since Linda Phillips has been here, I've read articles and after articles about anomalies that occurred in the election process. Listen to this. In 2024, just before the election deadline for the November election, it was reported that over 600,000 people registered to vote just before that deadline of 2024. They were expecting to win this election for Kamala Harris. And they did a pretty good job because Kamala did win in Memphis and Shelby County. Let me show you what Linda Phillips looks like. Linda Phillips, the lady who is running the election commission right now. Have anybody seen that face, Linda Phillips? I am concerned about Linda Phillips, and I'll go on to tell you why. Linda Phillips has been running the Shelby County Election Commission since she took over in 2016. Because Bob Holden left in 2015. And Linda Phillips brought her baggage with her. Did she have ulterior motives at the time? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, things have gone downhill ever since she's been here. Now, let me tell you what Judge Joe Brown stated when Judge Joe Brown is a character. Anybody that knows Judge knows that he's a character. I'll tell you what Judge Joe Brown said about this last election in 2024. Please, please pay close attention to what Judge has to say. Judge Joe Brown drops some nuggets.
And are totally corrupted. The feds put up the money to replace them in 2008, but the first election that they were used in did not.
Okay, Judge is talking about the voting machines.
Occur until 2023. So that's that whole lapse of what? That's 23 years from a finding way back in 2008. That's 23 years these machines have been in use. The finding in 2008 was.
Judge is talking about finding, meaning there was some corruption associated with the machines.
They were totally corrupted in the last election, which was for November 2024. This one that just occurred, I was a poll watcher and I was down there in the election commission and they were having a frantic problem. You know what it was? They had more votes in some precincts than they had people who signed in to vote. So here we go. Let
me rewind that. I want you to hear that. That's extremely important. I hope I'm not going back too far.
The county mayor's office, along with the 28 million, 5,000 missing license plates that went through.
Hold on. Let me go back to where I need to be. Anyway, what Judge is basically saying is there were more votes. It was more votes than there were voters. And why? I'll discuss that in a moment. Let me see if I'm in the right place for Judge.
Said it did in writing. That is that the voting machines, deballed voting machines adopted in 2000 are totally corrupted. The feds put up the money to replace them in 2008, but the first election that they were used in did not occur until 2023. So that's that whole lapse of what? That's 23 years from a finding way back in 2008. That's 23 years these machines have been in use. The finding in 2008 was they were totally corrupted in the last election, which was for November 2024. This one that just occurred, I was a poll watcher and I was down there in the election commission and they were having a frantic problem. You know what it was? They had more votes in some precincts than they had people who signed in.
Okay. This is the core of why I am doing this show today. Judge says there were more people who voted than there were actually people themselves to vote. I go back to what I said. There are over 600,000 registered voters that signed up just before this 2024 election, and that is the election that he's talking about. Here is our problem. In Shelby County, Tennessee, Linda Phillips has stated that there are 185,000 people that could potentially be purged from the voter rolls. 185,000 voters. That means that if a person is signed up to vote and don't go and vote, and the election is over, at the end of the day, they can determine whether that person has voted or not. And if that person has not voted, that is a voter that they can use in order to get the results that they want. That's what it boils down to. But the state of Tennessee is smart. The state of Tennessee has stated in 2024 that there are some new policies that would impact voters and election administrations moving forward. And one of these is purging the voter rolls. Linda Phillips doesn't want to purge the voter rolls. She makes excuses after excuses to not purge the voter rolls. In May of 2026, there's going to be a primary, and the state of Tennessee has allocated $8 million for all of the counties throughout the state to conduct their primaries. But Linda Phillips is saying, oh, I can't purge voters. This has been placed in my lap. There's nothing I can do about it. That 185,000 voters that she needs to purge. And I need you guys, those of you who care about this community, who care about election integrity, to call Linda Phillips' office. During this last meeting that the Election Commission held, she has made all types of statements, in essence, pushing back on how it is so inconvenient to purge the inactive voters. The state of Tennessee has passed laws to state that those voters need to be purged, but Linda Phillips is saying, I can't do that. This request has come down after my budget has been submitted. I don't have the extra money, although they're getting $2 million as a report of that large $8 million throughout the state to hold primaries. New Commissioner Patty Paulso said, can you use some of that money? Because Linda Phillips was saying, I can't do that. I've got to buy postage. I've got to hire part-time people. It's going to cost me, say, $100,000 or something to that effect. Linda Phillips is pushing back, even when it was brought up about President Trump's executive orders. Linda Phillips pushed back and she stayed. I'm not going to worry about his executive orders concerning elections this in 2026. It's too late to do anything about it. And if he issues executive orders, I'm sure there are going to be lawsuits. That's a dog whistle. I'm sure there are going to be lawsuits to stop it. Linda Phillips, we require that our elections, the results are honest. So I'm asking you guys to email Linda Phillips. Let me put this information out here for you. Email Linda Phillips or give her a call to let her know we expect for her to do her job. We expect for her. We expect for Linda Phillips to get the voter rolls cleaned up. That's what we expect. And I know this is probably a boring thing for you, but your lives, this will impact your lives and will impact your children's lives. And it will impact everything that happens in this county. Okay, I'm trying to, here, let me put it here. Email Linda Phillips for me. Email Linda Phillips. If you don't want to do that, give her a phone call at 901-222-1234. 1200 and demand accountability and action. Leadership. Leadership sets the tone of a community. And ever since all Democrats have been elected to office, our community has gone down in terms of crime, in terms of values, in terms of education. We've got to make sure that we have diversity in the leadership in this county. And not only one party needs to control everything. We need a diversity. And the only way that's going to happen is if you get involved and you make the phone call and you let her know and you let people know that you are watching and that you demand accountability. So that's my show today. That's my show today. We need the voter rolls purged of 185,000 voters that have not voted. Well, they were on the rolls in 2021, and they didn't even vote in 2022. They didn't vote in 2024. So they have missed 2 consecutive elections. They need to go. And there is a process which has been passed from the General Assembly, HB 457, SB 629, Ruggs and Briggs. Says if a registered voter does not participate in 2 consecutive November elections, a period of 4 years, or otherwise engage with their election commission, sign a petition, or update their address, county commission officials shall, not maybe, but shall take the multiple steps in the process needed to remove those voters from the voter rolls. That means that 185,000 voters cannot be used in order for somebody to get the results that they want after the election. The election officials should send identified voters a confirmation notice, and if the voter returns it and confirms they're still at the address, they can remain on the voter rolls. Linda doesn't even want to do that. Okay? We've got some issues here, and the only way these people will take us seriously is if we ourselves demand accountability and action. Make it a priority. Make it a priority to call Linda and to tell her to purge inactive voters and have her to stop planning to resist President Trump's executive order in order for us to have a fair election. Guys, I appreciate you joining me today. I don't see any comments. I know there is a lot that I've gone over. I hope you understand the importance of what we are discussing. Tell your friends to get on the ball and get Linda Phillips to do what she needs to do in order to purge those 185,000, probably plus by the time we have the next election, 185,000 voters off the voter rolls. As Judge Joe Brown said, there were more votes than there were voters. How can that happen? 185,000 voters are not going out to vote, so their votes can be utilized. And I'm going to tell you another thing, guys. Have you ever wondered why throughout the whole 95 counties in Tennessee, Shelby County election results always come out last? Always. I'm alleging that 185,000 inactive voters may have something to do with that. Make sure that your vote counts and nobody else is using your vote for you. Thank you for joining me. You guys have a blessed week. I had a great Mother's Day. I was able to interact with my children, and it was wonderful. It was surely wonderful. And one of my sons stood up and said, my mother was strict and I couldn't understand it. And that just brought tears to my eyes because he's someone I'm proud of and he's doing a good job. Yes, leadership matters, parental interaction matters. But right now, we can't go back and, if the parents haven't raised their children correctly, we've got to make sure that we have the best leadership that is leading this county. And it starts from the election commission itself. So thank you for indulging me. Thank you for listening to me. Think about what I'm saying. Make that phone call or send an email. Remember, make the phone call to Linda Phillips and let her know we want those 185,000 voters purged or have some type of verification to prove that they are still active. Call her at 901 222 1200 or email her at linda.phillips@shelbycounty10.gov. Demand accountability, demand action. Thank you. God bless you.